Good morning. My name is Jimmy Lewis, and I'm excited to be here on April the 16th, 2025, or 17th, at the library where we all have enjoyed its services. I'm a native of Alexandria, and I'm going to say a few words about my background, my family in particular, um, my parents and my siblings, and where we lived, and also my immediate family. It's always important to me to put family first. So my family grew up in seminary, and I'm so proud of that fact. It means a great deal to all of us because of the relationships, family members, cousins and uncles and aunts, and the general atmosphere that surrounded uh, the small elementary school, of which I did not attend, but my older sisters did, as well as our church at the time, Oakland Baptist Church, and then one of the main employers, the Virginia Theological Seminary, where my father was actually born on that campus, and our grandfather worked there for 27 years. So I'm the third. I'm James Lewis III of James Jr. and my grandfather, James Lewis Sr. And then, most importantly, our mother, Eunice Quander Lewis. Again, a native of Alexandria, like my parents, like my father, and her family, our family, the Quander family, has a long lineage that goes back to Accra in Ghana. In fact, we're celebrating our 100th consecutive Quander family reunion this August. So we're extremely proud of that legacy and how it continues over the years with the younger members of the family and the knowledge of what has been accomplished by our ancestors. So my mother's a graduate of Parker Gray High School. She was their first Maid Queen. Met my dad and they married when she was 19. My dad didn't finish high school, but was a brilliant individual, as was my father. They really were so equally yoked in so many ways, and always had Christ first and the family, and emphasizing education, which gets me to the library, or the lack of library access that we enjoyed. I'm 78 years of age, and my four older sisters, 2 days ago, she passed away 4 years ago, but 2 days ago we celebrated our oldest sister, Naomi Lewis Brooks, who would have been 91 years of age on the 14th. And we're so proud of all the accomplishments that she really set for us as a secondary mother, if you will, and then going on to have a wonderful family where her husband retired as a two-star general, and their oldest son retired as a two-star general as well, and their youngest son retired as a four-star general, and their daughter, Marquita Brooks, is a lawyer. So Naomi really was the one who showed us the example of how hard work and dedication and discipline in all areas. Academically, she was the first of our family to go to college on either side. Quander or Lewis family went to Virginia State down in Ettrick, Virginia, and met her future husband, Leo Brooks, who they're both Parker Gray High School graduates. So we were just celebrating in our community those individuals or people that had major influences on our lives. We have a Christian fellowship in our community called The Crest here in Alexandria. And I shared on Monday the fact that Naomi had received the highest award from the Virginia Theological Seminary, which is the Dean's Cross. And some of the future award winners were Barbara Bush and Madeleine Albright. And it was about service and education and the community and church. And she certainly was a great, great role model. She was a great basketball player, too. In fact, she's in the Hall of Fame, in the Alexandria Athletic Hall of Fame, and taught me how to play the game. And her son, their son, Vincent, played for Coach K at West Point. So, there are a lot of connective tissue that we've all tried to build on, starting with our parents who believed in those tenets that I mentioned. Our father was a chauffeur for John L. Lewis right over here on the corner of Washington and Orinoco Street, which is now the Lee Fendel House, and did a wonderful job um, in combining his work with his service to others. I know that some of the stories that he told us that are in the books here in this library of how he had to drive throughout the South from Alexandria going to Fort Myers, Florida, where John L. Lewis vacationed, and those types of challenges that presented themselves in the 40s and the 50s and early 60s. So I certainly know from whence I came, and I'm so proud of that. 4 older sisters, again, Naomi, a second sister, Barb, who also has passed away, an avid reader. And then my 2 remaining sisters, Dr. Janice Winters, got a PhD and was valedictorian of the class at Parker Gray in 1956 and went on to Virginia State. All 3 of my 4 sisters went to Virginia State. And Janice was a professor at George Mason University. And she has a daughter, excuse me, my niece, Christy Winters Scott. I want to mention Christy because she's a real public figure. She's a sports analyst for ESPN and the Big Ten Network and the Mystics and Washington Wizards, and was a great basketball player herself, is in the Hall of Fame of the University of Maryland. So, that kind of, we're blessed to have so many accomplishments, as a lot of families in Alexandria do, but I'm touting the family today, and I want to be cognizant of from whence we came and how we're hopefully influencing others. And then our youngest sister, Ruth, lives in New Jersey, and she's a retired principal. So my 3 sisters who went to Virginia State became a principal, a professor, and then a school is named after Naomi, the Naomi Lewis Brooks Elementary School, from her days as a teacher and administrator here. So, and then I came along, and I didn't do much. No, I really believed that I could do anything, and I was fortunate to have great instructors. I went to Lyles Crouch Elementary School. I just ran across an old friend that was the top student at Charles Houston Elementary the same year that I was the top student at Lyles Crouch, both 7th graders. And then we matriculated to Parker Gray. Mr. Fund, Carlton Fund, was a great influence on all of us, but he taught us a lot about African American history and was our 7th grade teacher. So my parents kept me humble, but I believed in myself. I knew I could do things because my sisters had shown me the way. Janice was like she was a teacher for me. I mean, she helped me so much. In fact, 8 years before I won that award as a top student, she had won the same award. And that just speaks to, again, the kind of emphasis and blessings that we had to have great parents who knew the importance of education. So back then, I was really into sports. I thought I was going to be the next Jim Brown. Football was my best sport, I thought. And growing up in seminary, I had a lot of role models. Taft Henry, who's now about 94 years of age, and my Uncle Herman. And they were always there for us because they were still playing themselves as middle-aged men. And so I made the varsity football team at Parker Gray High School because Parker Gray started in the 8th grade as a 12-year-old 8th grader. And I really, under the legendary Lewis Rubber Dog Johnson was our coach. He coached everything from 1939 up until the school closed, and was the athletic director the last part of his tenure there. I'm on a couple of Hall of Fame committees, and we've been fortunate to nominate him, and he's in the VIA, which was the Black High School Association, of which there were 135 black high schools throughout the state of Virginia, the Virginia Interscholastic Association. He's in the West Virginia State University Hall of Fame and came from Charlottesville and really developed Parker Gray and not only in athletics, but the name. Where sports is usually the front porch of most schools of institutions, and we were known for a lot of things. The Alexandria African American Hall of Fame certainly reflects that, with doctors and lawyers and generals and judges. Nolan Dawkins, one of our contemporaries. But from an athletic standpoint, we competed extremely well through the efforts of some great coaches and some talented athletes. And I'm not going to be remiss, because now's the time to mention the guy who was my mentor. He saw something in me, as he saw in a lot of players throughout this country, but he always came back as a substitute teacher or running the playgrounds in the summer, during and after his NBA career. And obviously I'm talking about the great Earl Lloyd. All right, so finished Parker Gray in 1946, the year I was born, and his basketball team that year, coached by Coach Johnson, was called the Dream Team, because they beat Washington teams and beat an all-star team of basketball players from D.C. And so Earl went on to become the first African-American, as we all know, to play in the NBA. October 31st, 1950. The first African-American to play on an NBA championship team with the Syracuse Nationals in 1955, which there's a nexus with all this. Each one helped one. Earl recommended me for a basketball scholarship to a guy named George King, who was his teammate on that championship team in Syracuse in 1955. And George had just become, 2 years previously, the head coach at West Virginia University. The great Jerry West had just graduated. And so I was fortunate to get a scholarship there. And we, because 3 other brothers and myself, became the first African Americans to play basketball in the Southern Conference, and certainly at West Virginia University. And we had good success. But it all started with the seminary playgrounds, and believing, because we saw others, Jasper Belk, George Casey, guys who were on the team at Parker Gray. They had 3 straight state championship teams in basketball, 55, 56, and 57 from Parker Gray. And we were all proud of wherever the guys came from, the Burg, South Side. But when the guys were from seminary, it made our hearts really, really enjoy what they were doing. So I did my best to help carry on that tradition. We took the 1963, my junior year, I'm a young 16-year-old junior, and we took Parker Gray to the state championship runner-up spot down at Hampton Institute, and I made All-State. I was a starter my freshman, sophomore, and junior years, because my 8th year, when I was this football player that I thought I would become as my best sport, I blew my knee out, ACL and cartilage and all that. So I never played a down of football after that injury. But God blessed me to have the kind of parents and support group and doctors that I went from an injury, which is very commonplace now to be able to return, rehab from. But back then in 59, 60, it usually was, the end of your athletic career. But I found another sport, and basketball was really, really a love of mine. So we did well at West Virginia University. I didn't know that we won championships up there. One of my teammates was an All-American guard who played in the NBA, Ron Fritz Williams. So the relationships that we built through sports, which is always just a common denominator when you are in something bigger than yourselves. But it always started with seminary and then Parker Gray. And actually, my senior year, the summer before my senior year, my parents moved to Shiver Drive in the Randall Estates, 5 miles from here. It wasn't like we moved to Oregon. And so I finished my senior year at Groveton High School. And because of VIA and Virginia High School League rules, you could only play 4 years. And that time when I started, I only played 10 games, the first 10 games of the basketball season at Groveton. But we did well. We were 9-1, and I ended up making the first team, All-Met team in the Washington Post, which someone said was the first time someone had played half a season and made first team All-Met. Now, I had played 3 years as a starter at Parker Gray, so I had a little, equity built up, if you will. And we played against all the teams from D.C. and Maryland and certainly Virginia, from Richmond all the way up. So I had a lot of confidence. I was a physically advanced person. I'll put it that way. I was 6'2", about 180 pounds, and one of my strengths was jumping. I rebounded aggressively. I averaged that year at Groveton 22 rebounds for a 6'2" guy. It's not bad. It's one of the reasons West Virginia recruited me, quite frankly, because my shot was a little suspect. But I could go to the hole, and we all had our individual strengths and weaknesses. But that's something I'm really proud of, because that could have been the end of my athletic experience as a participant. And I had one leg shorter than the other. I'm getting into the weeds here, but back then, 6 months, my right leg that I broke my knee. I was in a cast for 6 months from my hip down to my ankle, and didn't know that my growth spurt was affecting that. And I suffered later on in college from that inequity in the length of my legs. So, journalism major at West Virginia University, won the William Randolph Hearst Scholarship for editorial writing. I was in the public relations sequence, and didn't really know what I wanted to do. I wasn't interested in teaching, or I would have gone into education. But Earl Lloyd, again, was a factor in my getting a job with Chrysler Corporation in the management trainee program when I graduated after 4 years at West Virginia University in 1968. So I went to Detroit. It was like, yes, Detroit. I love Detroit. It was a wonderful American city that offered a lot to especially young African American men and women.